Hello, everyone, to another episode of Yankees Den. I will be your host, Lorenzo Scarabino, and we got a late one, folks. Sorry for the 1:30 start time. The Yankee game did start at 9:40 as they're playing in Sacramento versus the A's. So let's get into it a little bit. Let's recap kind of how the game went. Had an 8-2 win against the Athletics, which is a nice bounce back after the first series we had against them, where we did get swept. So you have Rodon who goes 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 3 Ks. He looked pretty good. Had some traffic there in the third in or the second inning. Gets out of it with a big double play, started by Jazz. So that really helped him. Cabby 2 for 4, McMahon 1 for 4 with a homer, Goldie 1 for 5 with a first inning 3-run homer with 2 outs. So that is big. Keep an eye on that. We'll talk about that a little later into the episode. Aaron Judge 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a walk, but we'll talk about why he's still having good and productive at bats and why that is still good, even though he still hasn't fully hit his stride yet. Then later in the game, after Rodon's pulled, we get Hedrick, Cruz, and Blackburn. Hedrick gets into a bit of a jam. Cruz comes in, shuts the doors, nails, gets out of it. Blackburn, 2 innings, closes it out. Little traffic there in the ninth inning, but because we scored 8 runs, nothing we couldn't get out of, and nothing we needed to hold our breaths about. So, a few things I just want to go over is it's when you get swept by a team, it is a great thing to come out swinging, especially at their home ballpark. The Yankees got swept in New York, so to be able to go out to Sacramento at a 9:40 game time, it's obviously earlier for them, and come out swinging the bats well, attacking Severino, who is a familiar face, even though he got pulled something injury wise. Never like to see that. Still always rooting for guys to stay on the field, but he didn't have his stuff, and we attacked him early on. And that is what you have to do after you get swept. That's the statement you have to make against a team like Oakland. They're young. So once you put all these runs on the board, especially in the first inning, after Goldie hits that 3-run homer with a few runs on the board already, a young team like that kind of gets shot down a little bit. So they're not as vulnerable to maybe come back. But a few things I want to get into. I will keep this podcast short because it is late. But Caballero, he did have a miscue on a sharp ball hit to him that ricocheted off his glove and went into the outfield. But he got it done with the bat. He was in there today at shortstop. Volpe was on the bench riding the pine. So Aaron Boone told us this is what's going to happen. He's going to go day to day and see who's going to be playing that day. But I think Cabby needs to get his praise as Volpe would get his praise if he started today and did well. But Caballero's been holding down shortstop the whole year. So it's very good to see him after the 10-day IL stint, come back and still be the same person he was before the injury. He's still hitting. He didn't lose a step at all. Hit a double. So those are very good signs to see, and you have to get Cabby in the lineup every day. My opinion, you have to fit him in there, whether it's in the outfield, you're giving Trent Grisham a day off, or you're sliding him over to third base, you're giving McMahon and Ahmed Rosario, you're putting them on the bench for saving them for later. And if you're going to be playing Volpe at short, you have to get Caballero in there because he's such a great asset to have in the lineup. Scrappy, puts the ball in play, everything that I stated yesterday. You need someone like that in the lineup, because teams like the Toronto Blue Jays have guys like that. Teams like the Tampa Bay Rays who have a guy like Chandler Simpson. So you need guys like that to spark, especially down in the order, batting ninth. Perfect 9-hitter, flips the lineup over, gives it to Trent Grisham. Trent Grisham with a big night, 2 for 5. He is heating up as of late. He is putting together great at-bats. I know that I hope I'm wrong about him when this season's all said and done, because I was someone who said that he's not, and he still isn't, I don't think, worth the 20 million. I think the Yankees try to get a quick one, try to get a draft pick, and he winded up taking that deal because he's not going to get 20 million a year elsewhere. So he took the 20 million for another year, bet on himself essentially. So you had to know that he wasn't going to replicate 34 home runs and stuff like that. But as of now, as of late, he is putting it together. So as we saw at the beginning of the season, he was still walking, but he was striking out a ton, not getting the base hits in front of Ben Rice, in front of a Cody Bellinger, in front of Aaron Judge that you would like. And that's a big reason why a lot of fans, especially me, were saying move him down to seventh because he hits better with runners in scoring position. Maybe he'll hit better with a little less pressure on him. He's not the leadoff. He doesn't have to get on in front of Judge, because you would like someone on in front of him, in front of Rice, seeing what Rice did tonight, 3 for 5. But Trent Grisham, 13 for his last 29. So he's batting 448 in that sample size, which is very good. He's getting on at a great clip right there. And that's what you need out of your leadoff hitter. If he's going to stay at the leadoff spot, this is what he needs to do. He needs to get multi-hit games, a few weekly, to make sure he's you want him there in the leadoff spot to make sure that you trust him and he's reliable and he's going to get it done. So that's what you like to see. Also, I would like to point out Aaron Judge a little bit. I want to talk a little bit on Judge because even though he has not hit his stride yet, his full Aaron Judge stride, you know how he is. You've seen that he's not as quick to tap his head like other players are, like a Jazz Chisholm, who maybe shouldn't be tapping their head and challenging pitches, but you're seeing Judge a little hesitant on pitches that he maybe wouldn't the last couple years. So maybe it is a little bit of regression, but it's okay because as we've seen tonight, he was 1 for 4, but he had 2 RBIs, and those RBIs one came in the first inning, and then another came with 2 outs. And that's what I like to see is even though maybe he hasn't hit his full stride and he's still struggling a bit at the plate, and he's hitting 250, so he's still putting up a solid season. But for Aaron Judge, that's not the season he would want, and he could tell you that. But to see him still finding ways to put the ball in play, be situational like we talked about yesterday, and still produce for the team. That is a big part of the Yankees is Aaron Judge. And if he's still not hitting his stride, but you have the Yankees offense clicking like it is right now, and Aaron Judge is doing what he can to get runs in as of now as he's struggling, that's a bonus. You need that, and he's playing for the team. He's not playing for himself. He's giving up himself ground out RBI today, giving up himself just to let that run score, which I love a lot. I really do like the situational hitting. So Hedrick gets into that jam in the seventh inning. I'm pretty sure it was, and then Cruz comes in, gets it out. So that's another thing with the bullpen is Hedrick has been pitching a ton so far. So he's looked taxed as of late, and you like to maybe stay away from him. And it was good that Rodon got deep into this game into the sixth inning, which was very good. And also, I want to talk about something as well. I want to talk about Ryan McMahon and how he's done as of late. Because he hasn't been too bad. And I just want to know if he's maybe earning the trust of some of us Yankees fans that doubted him when we made the trade, because I know when we made the trade that there were a lot of people saying, "Oh, we're eating that money." And he's just defense. He's not going to hit out. They were talking about his numbers outside of course field, and they weren't good. So people weren't excited. They wanted a maybe Suarez, but you see how he's doing. The thing is, when people talk about these trade targets and they acquire them, like for instance, Suarez, he had 40 home runs. When he comes to the Yankees, like you're talking about a guy, he's not gonna have those 40 home runs with the Yankees. So it's different, and he's not playing all that well. I don't think he would have been a great fit. We still would have missed that defense that we got in Ryan McMahon, and essentially helped us in the playoffs because he did make that play against Boston and he came through when the offense really wasn't doing anything. The only one that was doing something last October, ironically enough, was Aaron Judge, proving that he can hit finally, and nobody did anything. Stanton was off, everybody was off. So Ryan McMahon starts the season off slow, obviously. Under 600 OPS is just not, which is not what you want. A 700 OPS is league average, and he's batting 100 points below that, maybe a little more. But to see him start hitting home runs to center, to the opposite field are great signs to see. And if he's playing his defense, that is extraordinary. And Boone, we have to give credit to Boone. He pushed the right buttons tonight, starting Cabby at shortstop, starting McMahon over Ahmed Rosario at third base, and honestly, keeping Goldschmidt where he is in the lineup and keeping him at first base because Goldschmidt has done a great job since Stanton has gone to the IL. Goldschmidt has done nothing but rake. He's been hitting with 2 outs. He had the 2-out, 3-run homer today, which was huge. And 2-out hitting is something that is not doesn't come often into today's game. But you see teams like the Toronto Blue Jays, which is why they went to the World Series last year, is because they would get those 2-out hits. A team like the Rays, the Dodgers maybe would execute like that, and the Yankees wouldn't execute. So to be able to have Goldschmidt penciled in the lineup, it's going to be really frustrating when Stanton comes back and maybe they take Goldschmidt out of the lineup and keep him on the bench because they're going to slide Rice back over to first base. But as of right now, he's proving why he's still a good player, even though he's 38 years old. If he wasn't on the Yankees, he'd be a starter for most of these teams at first base. So I think that just goes to show you the flexibility the Yankees have if he's on the bench to deploy him when they want, either if, say, Stanton gets subbed out by a pinch runner late in the game and his at bat comes up again, you got Goldschmidt. Or say Ben Rice, something happens, you could plug him in at first base. So to be able to get him at bats and seeing more pitching, because beginning of the season he really wasn't seeing anything until Stanton got hurt. So for him to come into the lineup and do what he's doing is great. And that's just the veteran leadership of him and the veteran mind of him to come in, know his role, and still performing at a high clip, playing elite defense and putting the ball in play. Now, the reason I liked Goldschmidt's at bat so much, he was 1 for 5, but in the first inning, he kind of put the nail in the coffin right then and there. He hit that 3 home runs after we scored a few runs, and it was with 2 outs. And now with 2 outs, that is huge because you need to get those hits with 2 outs, and that's why I loved his at bat so much. It was professional at bat, fouled a few pitches off, and it was great. Now, I just want to talk about something real quick and jump out ahead of it before it happens. Aaron Judge, tonight I was watching, and I saw a pitch on a breaking ball where he just fouled it back. Now, in years past, I feel like he would have put that ball in play, but he recognized it soon, and he wasn't that off of it. He He made the right swing decision. And I think a week or two back, he was a little hesitant to swing at those. He was buckling maybe a little bit. And I felt like it was more fluent today. I feel like the past few games since the Rays walk-off home run in the ninth inning to give us the win 2-0, I think he's been getting on a little bit of a run here. And I think he's set to go off in July and June. I think his numbers are really going to even out, and you're going to start to see him get back to that MVP level, which he's still at, but the level we all know Aaron Judge is capable of being at. So, with that, I just want to go on to the title of today's video, which is it sustainable for the Yankees to pick up the slack while Aaron Judge isn't Aaron Judge? So I personally, I think it's a little tricky, honestly, right now, because I don't think it's sustainable because you still didn't get anything from your catcher tonight. He went 0 for 4. Escar went 0 for 4 tonight, and he didn't provide anything to the bottom of the lineup. So I think, obviously, we talked about it yesterday. You still need to get that catcher position figured out, and you need someone who's going to work at bats. And because we've seen throughout this year, and the Yankees have limited their bad stretches, which is very good and a reason why I think they're the best team in the AL and they're better than last year, even though people say they ran it back. They didn't necessarily run back everything, and it's different. They have more chemistry now. But through those 6 losing games at the beginning of the season, they hit another rough stretch a week ago, 2 weeks ago. They were in a little bit of a funk. So you see the Yankees offense always do this all the time. So for me, I have to see this offense click at this level for a little bit longer. Give me another week or two of you coming out, taking these games, scoring big, pitching, holding it down, bullpen sustaining the lead and not giving it up, because the Yankees go like this. It's like a wave. It's like a big wave. They'll hit, and then you'll be like, "Oh my God, they're the how do they lose? They're the best team in baseball. They could even beat the Dodgers if their offense plays at this rate." But then you see it and you look up at the screen and and Michael K and the Yes broadcast, and they're popping up stats, and they have a 15 inning scoreless streak, or they have a 20 inning scoreless streak, or whatever the scoreless streak may be. And you're like, how does this offense go from being so hot to going so cold? And the reason catcher needs to be figured out is because when that is happening, maybe a new guy like a Dylan Dingler or an Ali Rushman comes in and people aren't hitting, but he's like, you know what? I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm going to get on base. I'm going to start something, maybe pop one out, hit a home run, and give us the lead or switch the momentum, something, because you can't rely on Judge to even bounce back. Like, you can't just be like, all right, we might not go get the offense that we know we need at the deadline because Aaron Judge is just going to bounce back. That is something that Brian Cashman and the Yankees front office can't say. They can't say, listen, he's gonna bounce. We know he's Aaron Judge. He's gonna bounce back. So we don't even need to worry about catcher. We have Austin Wells and JC Escara, who are great defensive catchers. So the offense is playing well and being hot right now because it's the summer days. So we're not gonna do anything, and we're gonna let Judge heat up. That simply cannot happen. The Yankees have to go all in on this. And another reason that they have to go all in on this is because of the lockout next year. So at the end of this season, there will be a lockout. And I saw something yesterday that the MLB and the CBA, they were talking, and there was a first proposal. So $170 million floor. A floor is great. I think there should be a floor so these cheap teams like the White Sox, the Rays, they are spending at a high clip, and it's evening out the league, because as you see in the AL today, currently there aren't that many good teams, and the National League is way better than us right now. So I think a floor would be great, but also they were talking about a proposal of 245 million as the cap at the ceiling. So that means eight teams, eight of the top teams, the Dodgers, the Blue Jays, the Mets, the Yankees, they would have to shed payroll. The Padres, they're going to have to shed so much payroll. So the reason why maybe this season you take a little more seriously than other seasons, which I should think you should do every season. But this season in exact is because next year we might not have baseball with this lockout. Looking how looking at how it's going right now and how it's sounding, I don't know if we're gonna have baseball right now next year, or we might have a shortened season like the COVID season. So when something like that might happen, you go all in, you acquire a Terry Skubal, you package that, you make a blockbuster, and you get Dylan Dingler, or you go out and fix the bullpen. You get a Josh Hader, you get a Jojo Romero from the St. Louis Cardinals, and O'Brien, and you fix up the team, and you get every asset it needs to win a World Series this year. Because then you know what? If there's no baseball next year, well, guess what? You did everything you needed to do in 2026, and you won the World Series. And now, after the lockout, you're coming back and you're the World Series champions. And the reason why that's so important is if there is a cap and the Yankees need to shed payroll, you spend your money and get the players no matter what it costs because you're the New York Yankees. You know, when you're the New York Yankees, like the Dodgers do, they don't care, like the Mets do. You're the New York Yankees. You could get anyone you freaking want. So you go get Terry Skubal. You go get these guys, even if it's not a need at third base, maybe because McMahon and Rosario are a good fit. The heck with it. You go get that guy. Even if it's not a need, like starting pitching isn't a need, but you would go get Tarek Skubal if he is available. So you go and get these guys. You make your team better because next year, if there's an imposed salary cap and you need to shed payroll, you're not going to be able to buy yourself as many players. And it's going to be a little trickier to build your roster as the Yankees. So that's a reason why I say this is because you have to be urgent. Brian Cashman has to be like, okay, assess his team at the deadline before the deadline. He's got to be like, what is working, what is not. Obviously, you see that catcher is a weak spot. And honestly, I think if you fix catcher, I'm not even talking about third base, which you can do. You have the luxury to do. We have the assets. We have the LeGrandes, the ERCs, the Dax Kilby. We have these players in the minor leagues that I think could intrigue some teams, and you can get a lot in exchange, a big time player. But you fix up the bullpen, you go get a catcher, and if Terry School was available, you go get him, and you make sure that you put everything you can into this season to win and compete with the Dodgers. Because right now, as currently constructed, we're not that far from them. We are not, especially with the lack of depth that the Dodgers starters have. Blake Snell is on the IL again. After he came back, he had 2 starts and he went back on the IL. So he cannot be trusted. They have Tyler Glass now. So right now, as I look at it, is what are you going to do to compete with the Dodgers? Don't worry about any of these other teams, because if you can look across to the NL and say, okay, we can compete with the Dodgers, you should win the AL. And right now, looking at the AL, you should be a Tampa Bay Ray. The Blue Jays are playing better as of late, and they're almost back to 500. And a lot of their players are injured, but will be coming back. So when they come back, they're going to be that deadly team like that you saw last year. And if they sneak into the wild card, which I think they will, then you have to be best suited and prepared to take on that Blue Jays team, that Tampa Bay Rays team, that maybe A's team that's young and inexperienced. You have to take your assets, put all your eggs in one basket, go get these guys, and then ride. So once you do that, then you're in pretty good shape because this offense is still a good offense, even though there are some holes. And the starting pitching is phenomenal. Rodon has come back from the injury his first two starts. I I'm in a group chat with some couple of my friends, and one of my Yankees friends was saying how he doesn't think Rodon is going to be good coming back from this injury. How he's going to be his first year with the Yankees, posting a 6 ERA, and he might let it unravel a little bit. But I said, no, hold on. Watch the first two games back and the first few innings. His command, which is always the last thing to come back to a pitcher when they come back from injury, but his command was noticeably not there, but his stuff was. You can see glimpses of his stuff being very sharp and him being efficient. Even though he didn't go long into those starts, you can see what's there and the Rodon of the last few years that you got. I mean, the Rodon last year was exactly why you signed him and gave him all that money is because of the Rodon from last year and the year before. Now, a thing is with Rodon that I do want to touch on, and Max Fried also, even though he is on the IL, because I'm looking ahead into October. I'm looking at this Yankees team, and I like what we have. Talking about, we know what we have to do at the deadline, of course, but I like the core guys and what we have, what we brought back. So the reason I want to talk about October is this is what we need to figure out. Can Rodon be trusted in October? Can a Max Fried be trusted in October when they both haven't shown and put up the numbers you would like to see in October? I mean, last year, Max Fried pitched great in the wild card series against Boston, and then he hits the Blue Jays and he forgets how to throw the ball over the plate and not get shellacked. So he needs to be the Max Fried of the regular season. No one's denying that he's not great inside the regular season, but in the postseason, that's when you make your name. And especially for the Yankees, you have to do something to stick out, and you have to be a Garrett Cole. Look what he does in the playoffs. He doesn't just do it in the regular season. He performs in the big stage. Cam Schlittler, you already saw, he performed in the big stage against Boston. A rookie, a few starts. He got like less than half a year of starts. Cam Schlittler comes up. He's blowing it by guys. I was sitting there on my phone watching it while I was on vacation, and I was like, this guy's going to be legit. He had that stuff. His first outing, you saw the fastball at 100 miles an hour. He's not a guy either that started off throwing that. He came in from the minor leagues starting off throwing 91, and now he's at 100. And he's basically, essentially, a fastball pitcher. He throws the sinker, the cutter, and the four seam, and he'll mix in the slider or the curveball here and there to throw off hitters. And I think once he does that, once he finds his secondary pitches, the slider, the curveball, he will be. It won't be a conversation. Is he better than Skeens? He will be better than Skeens. And right now, he honestly might be better than Skeens. But going back to the playoffs, Carlos Rodon has done extremely well these past couple starts after those two rough ones. And he's looked like the Carlos Rodon to me as of last year. And if I'm being honest, even though the numbers don't exactly say it, I trust Rodon in the playoffs. I do. And the reason I say this and I make this statement is because of the fire Rodon has. You can see the passion that he plays with. And in his first playoffs with the Yankees, he he got a little ahead of himself, and he knew it. He talked about it. He got a little jumpy. He was pitching good, and then he started getting hit around, and he lost it ultimately. But I think that he is a great power pitcher. And and this is why maybe he would pitch a little bit better, because the pressure might not be on him as much if you go get a Terry Skubal or you go get another high end starting pitching arm like a Joe Ryan of the Twins. The Yankees always contact the Twins. So maybe you see if they're non playoff contention. I know they're playing well right now. Maybe you contact them. But the reason I'm saying this is you get a Terry Skubal. Now you have Schlittler, you have Cole, you have Skubal. Now that gives Rodon a little bit of a breather, not as much pressure to hold the Yankees on his back. You have a three-headed monster. You have Fried need be in game 4 of a playoff series, which is insane to even say that he would be your fourth starter, Max Fried. But then you move Carlos Rodon to a bullpen, and maybe he comes out of a long relief spot and he does better. And he unleashes some of his firepower in those couple innings that he is out there for in the playoffs. And maybe that makes him a better performer in the playoffs. Maybe that's how you get him in the best position to perform in the playoffs. Sometimes you can't just throw a pitcher in there and just let him figure it out. You have to put him in a situation to succeed, not a failing position. Maybe put him in a better situation to see what he can do. And I think if he needs to start a game, say people are hurt or whatever the case may be, because you never know. You don't want to assume everyone's going to be healthy. You want to assume worst case scenario, so you're ready for that. I think that he could get it done. Last year, I don't think his starts in the playoffs were terrible. They could be better, but I like the fire that he brings. He obviously doesn't want to do bad. Nobody wants to do bad, but he's got a lot of grit and he's very emotional on the mound, which I think is a great attribute for him to have and which would allow him to succeed. Now, going to Max Fried. I think I know Max Fried is a great pitcher. Excuse me. Max Fried is a phenomenal pitcher in the regular season. Notice how I said regular season. He was fine in the playoffs when the Braves went on to win in 2021 against Houston. He was fine. He's not a reason why they got there and ultimately won. But the reason I'm saying this is you look at his postseason numbers and they're not all that great, aside from that 1 year. And you need Max Fried to translate what he did in the regular season. He needs to show that he can do that with the Yankees in the playoffs, because we signed him for the big bucks, and right now I think he's been worth it, even though last playoffs he didn't exactly do what we needed him to do in the ALDS, which could have helped us because we did score. It was more of our pitching that let us down last postseason in the ALDS against the Blue Jays offense. But if Max Fried stays confident and he's working inside the zone, as you saw last year and stuff like that, he has the stuff. And this year, even though he was injured, and to be honest, all of his starts I watched, it didn't look like he had his A plus stuff, and he was still going deep in the game, 6-7 innings, getting guys out, 8 innings. He was still getting guys out and getting ground balls and the weak contact that you would like to see out of your ace as of right now, until Cam Schlittler has done what he has done so far. So when Max Fried is pitching at that level and he's back and he's healthy, you hope he comes back and he's fully ready to go and make a deep run into October. You're looking for a guy with that stuff in the regular season. Work inside the zone. You know what works, those sinkers, the curveballs. Stay on the edges, maybe attack a little bit, get more first pitch strikes, get ahead in the count. Don't fall behind, because that's when he's going to get less confident, especially in the playoffs atmosphere. and you ride. You throw those ground balls. Maybe you give up the strikeouts, but you just put your stuff in there because you know it's good enough and you're Max Fried. He's been one of the best starting pitchers since 2019. I know he's had a big injury history, but that's someone that you need to go and get. So right now, talking about that, I know that we covered everything today. I think on the Yankees and how they played in October, talking about that a little bit. Cabby, Volpe, McMahon, Rosario. Are you confident in McMahon? Trent Grisham's hot stretch, Aaron Judge, Paul Goldschmidt. Great team win. But before I end this stream, I do want to pull up some of the trade targets we talked about. I want to pull up on Baseball Savant. Let's go over to Dylan Dingler. All right. Now, you look at this page, right? You look at the exit velo, the barrel, the hard hit, the sweet spot. Look at his defense. He has great defense. So it's not like you're saying, okay, we have Austin Wells who has great defense. Okay, you trade for Dylan Digger, you still have great defense, but you know what you have now? Now you have a bat. Batting run value, look at that. Now you have a bat. And look at his numbers. Over 3 seasons, he has a over 730 OPS. He's batting 230 this year, even although last year he did bat 278. He's still an upgrade over Wells. And you look at his maybe splits. You want to talk about splits? Let's look at his splits. So I think he would be best suited batting. Maybe you can plug him in at, even though it's small sample size, you plug him into the bottom of the order because you give that bottom of the order length. Now you have length. You have Grisham, Rice, Judge, Bellinger, Stanton, Jazz. Now you're talking. Now you're talking. You have so I just named what 5, 6 guys. You have Grisham, you have Ben Rice, you have Judge, you have Bellinger, you have Stanton, you have Jazz Chisholm, and then you have Cabby, you have Dingler. I mean, that's 8. That's just 8. And you're talking about a great lineup. And then you have McMahon or Rosario at the end. That then when you get a guy like Dylan Dingler that fixes and resolves and solves your catcher position, now maybe it's a little more okay and you're a little more inclined to keep McMahon starting in there every day because it's fine that his bat may be a little weak because he might do something good for you, but his defense, is great. And now you have 1 through 8 can all produce and hit. So that's what you want. All right. So make sure you look at this. This is Dylan Dingler. Now let's just put it into perspective and go to Wells. Oh boy. Oh boy. That's a lot of blue. Oh my god. I mean, it's night and day. And you can see it. Look at Wells's best year. And Dylan Dingler right now is not playing great. He's batting 231. It's still better than Wells's great year that we're saying Austin Wells had a good year. So you look at all of this, it's not great. The framing's just good, but not even anything else. They care about framing so much. So that's just doesn't stick out to me because let's go back to Dingler because look at this. Look at this catching. He's just got the framing. So honestly, with Dingler, you might honestly be getting a more valuable catch. Well, you will be getting a more valuable catch because of the offense, but look at the defense. His framing's still 95th percentile. And his pop time, he's throwing more guys out. So this is a guy that you need to get. But also, my top pick would be Adley Rutschman. If you cannot get Adley, I think you package Dingler with Terry Schoolball. But let's look at Ali Rutschman. I mean, come on. He's batting 260. He has an 813 OPS. This is the guy you get. And the reason why I say this is the guy you get, he's a switch hitter. He hits from both sides of the plate. Look at his sweet spot. Look at look at everything, right? He's framing higher than Dingler, higher than Wells. Look, it's above average. So, okay, it's caught stealing. So, take all of this into consideration. And obviously, yes, maybe Dingler's a little bit better. His pop time, his blocks above average. But Ali Rushman is still a great catcher. He's 28 years old, a former first round pick and number one prospect. And he's a switch hitter that hits. You can't say he's a switch hitter and he hits more from the right side. So left side might be a little. We might need a little bit of a platoon. No, he hits from both sides, left and right. Look, okay, maybe he hits a little bit against better against righties, but he's still 237 against lefties. That's still better than Wells against anyone. Against Joe Schmo down the block, it's better than. Wells, I don't even. I mean, I like Wells and I want him to succeed. I want every Yankee to succeed. I want Escar to succeed. But when you want to win and you're talking about Yankees, Dodgers, because that's ultimately what you're doing, because you know the Dodgers have the best team in baseball on paper, currently constructed. They have the most firepower that can knock you out. You want to make sure that you line up good and match up good with them. And you can look at your team and say, yeah, we're not outmatched. Because the Dodgers went into 2024 World Series and they were like, we've already got these guys beat. Put it in play, and they're going to beat themselves up. They're going to make errors. You don't want that same thing happening. You want to come into the playoff, demolish everyone, win the World Series, have a parade in New York. You see what the Knicks are doing, get up, and you go to the World Series and you win it. You get the guys you need, and you win the World Series. So this is actually interesting. I haven't looked at his batting order splits. So he hits better in the fifth spot with one play appearance. But no, in all seriousness, I think if they acquired a catcher, it would be towards the bottom of the order because you do have, they're most likely going to keep Grisham. And I think even if you don't keep Grisham at the leadoff, and what I would do only if Grisham cools back off is when Jason Dominguez is back. I really like Jason Dominguez a lot. He's got the speed, he has more contact, and he gets on. He's not just a station to station guy. He can steal bases. He could score from first on a ball down the line. So that's what I would do. But you're gonna have the top of the order, whether it's Grisham, Jason Dominguez as your leadoff. You're gonna have Ben Rice, Judge in some order at second and third. Then you're gonna have Bellinger, Stanton. Hopefully he's healthy. You're gonna I would put him maybe above Jazz and put Jazz below. But I think Jazz is a perfect right in the middle 5-6 guy. And then 7-8-9, you put Dingler or Rutschman, and you put Cabby or Volpe, and you put McMahon and Ahmed Rosario. I think that would be the perfect combination. And also, I want to look up Ryan Jeffers. Know that he is hurt right now with the hamate bone injury. But look at this. His defense is a little step back, but this is what I'm saying as well. You don't need, like, yes, you need the defense, but do you care about the defense if he's doing this on offense? If he's putting up these type of numbers, he's batting 295 with a 949 OPS and a 541 slugging. You know how great that is at the catcher position? And the reason why it's so great is the catcher position is honestly a little weak in today's game. Not every team has a great catcher. I want to see his splits because I think he is batting better against lefties, but look at his splits against righties. 289, he's still batting against righties. So honestly, this intrigues me a little more. I like this pickup a lot. I would. this would be a great pickup. Now, take into consideration he might be, hopefully, maybe he's 28 years old, but hopefully he comes back as the same player he is right now with that hamate bone injury in his wrist. Even if you get the 266 or even the heck 226 is better than Wells. But you got that, and one last guy I want to check out at the catcher position is Hunter Goodman of the Rockies. Wow. I thought he was, I'm not going to lie, I thought he was better than this. But the reason I bring up him is the Yankees love more control as well. Hunter Goodman is 26 years old. And even though this doesn't stand out, he's still batting 241, 777. He might be a little cheaper than the previous guys I just showed. But this is what I'm intrigued about. Hold on. Let's get to it. His away splits are better than his home splits. And the reason I like that is because usually everyone that plays at Coors, their home splits are better. So you're like, their numbers are a little bit inflated. So they have worse away stats. So you take into consideration more the away stats when you have a player at Colorado, in my opinion, because you don't have that elevation. Now he's batting way better in away games. So that is intriguing. So I definitely would consider him as well. Those are four catchers that you could possibly get, and you have to get one of those four catchers. Any other catcher, honestly, I don't even know if I would want. I mean, obviously better than Wells and Ascar, but I don't even know who you could get and who would be available right now. I think it's still a little early. We're just making assumptions based on how the Tigers are playing because Detroit is playing awful, and Skubal is still injured, so they're just not playing a great brand of baseball. So you just have to think that they're going to be in sell mode a little bit with an expiring contract in Skubal. But I honestly just want to bring up Skubal. I just want to see his savant. I really do just want to see how his savant looks. I mean, this is ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, it's Terry Skubal. So that's really well. And those are some of the trade targets we talked about that I would like to see them get, the big names. So, with all that being said, we covered everything tonight in a good time for the Yankees. A great way to start off the series, jump ahead. The Bats are woke up and have been up since the Kansas City series. And it's just a great way to come out, get your first win against the team that swept you at home. Now, tomorrow, you have who do we have on the mound? If I'm not mistaken, let me look. I'm honestly, it's Weathers. It's Ryan Weathers. We have Ryan Weathers on the mound tomorrow. You would like to get that win and go for the sweep on Sunday. So, with all that being said, thank you all for tuning in and watching. Make sure you like, you subscribe. Thank you guys. Good night.